Hey, what is up guys? Lee here. Today I'm bringing you a review for the highly anticipated, long-awaited direct sequel to 2018 Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which is Across the Spider-Verse, starring Shamiek Morre, Hallie Stienfield, along with Jake Johnson, and others such as Tyree Henry and Oscar Isaac. Across the Spider-Verse follows along with Miles' story after the events of Into the Spider-Verse takes approximately 1 year. After Into the Spider-Verse's message about anyone can wear the mask, now this sequel is learning what it means to be Spider-Man, what it means to have the mask itself. Along in the promotional trailers, you see Miles is sucked into the multiverse, the Spider-Verse, and he joins this group of a spider society run by Oscar Isaac, who plays Spider-Man 2099, also known as Miguel O'Hara. This is going to be my non-spoiler review. I want to get this out of the way first. I absolutely have been waiting for this movie ever since 2018 Into the Spider-Verse dropped. I honestly did not think this movie could surpass my expectations, especially with the marketing and the trailers and all that. You get a little bit of the piece of the meat within these trailers, right? But once you see the full product itself, it tells a whole different kind of story that you're just not prepared for at all. It blows my mind how could even surpass the level that Into the Spider-Verse has brought with its animation, with its storytelling. You just don't think of it because you're sitting yourself there like, how could this possibly surpass a superior product? Story-wise, like, it goes into a little bit of like, you know, what it means to be Spider-Man, of course. I'm just trying my best not to spoil this whole movie for you guys. I'm just gonna give you a little bits and pieces of what I felt through this. It gives the meaning of what it means to be Spider-Man, the sacrifices you have to go through. Within the story, you also get more depth out of Gwen from the first entry of the Spider-Verse movie, where in the first movie, you get that little comic joke of like, let's start it all over again, right? You get the little bits and pieces of her origin, what her life was like in her universe. You get that fully fleshed out within the first 15-20 minutes, I'd say, in the beginning of the film, you know, just give her more depth. If this movie is, the story of her is as much as her story as it is Miles, and how those two share a distinct bond with one another. And now we jump into Miles, you know, going through his day-to-day life of being Spider-Man and being Miles Morales. What that life is like. Yeah, we've seen that a little bit before with Peter and, you know, Spider-Man 2, how he's trying to, you know, balance his life around. And it demonstrates that very well with the Miles. And, you know, stress gets to him. He's a young kid, you know, and he tends to take that out on his parents. And what I love about the representation within his own parents is it's really nice to see in there because it's somewhat a realistic depiction. So yeah, within the story, you get a lot of the emotional aspects between Miles and his mother compared to what it was like for Miles and his dad in the first movie. And so that begs, you know, the question with the third movie is obviously there's going to be a third movie. Because if you've heard, this does end with a big cliffhanger. I will let you know that. The cliffhanger, it's there. So it questions like, what could the relationship be now for the third movie? Although it obviously gives what it is, but I don't know, they could switch it on us. Because, like, again, I did not expect this story to be what it was for this movie, so they could obviously surpass my expectations for the third. The pacing for this movie, it felt so smooth. For, you know, having a longer runtime than the original, you know, you would expect whenever it hits a certain mark, like a 2-hour mark, you know, check your watch. I didn't feel like that throughout this movie. I was totally engaged. I wasn't bored. Actually was very engaged through this movie because there's a certain aspect into this film where it kind of questions a moral dilemma between two characters, which is Miles and Miguel, which was heavily marketed throughout the movie. Like, why the hell is Miguel beating the shit out of Miles, right? So you see that through this film, and you kind of understand two viewpoints, and it's like, wow, to be in these shoes, it's totally tough. And honestly, it's a shit job to be Spider-Man. Don't get me wrong, the pros are you get the powers. Cons, you sacrifice a lot in your life. Yeah, so it's a big balancing scale right there, and I'm glad this movie kind of pushed that forward. It made me question a lot of things, like, is Miles doing the right thing throughout this movie? And don't get me wrong, if I was in his shoes, of course I would think he's doing something right, because I would do the same, no questions about it. I would obviously do the same. But if I was in Miguel's shoes, yeah. I'm sorry, Miles, but like it's sort of a hard dilemma to go through. But the thing is with Miguel is he's not the best talker. He is not the best compromiser. He just does not communicate well. His only communication is through fists. So I want to get into the villain, you know. I thought the villain for this movie, which is Spot, or The Spot, I thought it was very well done compared to Kingpin, because with Kingpin, you know, they try to make him a little bit, you know, empathetic. He's trying to regain his family, but the thing is, his plan would have totally failed in the end game of it all. Whereas for this villain, he's sort of a joke, which I have to tell you, I want to get this out of the way. His origin story is literally the best thing I've ever seen. It's like, in fact, it's kind of like the whole, you know, disgruntled ex-Stark employee from the Spider-Man movies, but done way better by like 10,000 times, in my opinion, at least. But with the villain here, like, yeah, they start him off as a joke. Later throughout the film, he progressively gets dangerous by, you know, upscaling his powers. And the way they showcase it is really just, it is kind of haunting to look at. The drawings, the animation, the compositions, it is spectacular, no pun intended, but it is a spectacle to be seen. Whenever I buy it on digital or steelbook, I'm going to pause every single frame, because there is a lot to go through in this movie. And that's the great thing about Christopher Miller and Phil Lord, is their attention to details with the writing, and, you know, the animators with this, like, their attention to details, the spider people, the Spiderverse itself. It's a lot to go through, and I appreciate that, because it shows there's a lot of compassion, a lot of heart that was put into this project. In considering the story that, you know, they were writing part 2, which is Beyond the Spider-Verse, along with Across, it's given me a lot of expectations have been risen to like 100 now. Any frame you can find in this movie could just be like a canvas behind you. It's something to behold. As for, you know, the cameos, the Easter eggs in this movie, I didn't feel like it was a whole glub shito formula like what Star Wars does with their projects. I felt it was very organic. It felt in line with the comedy, which I have to say, comedy was really great in this movie. But the thing is, with the comedy, they throw those jokes like super fast, like jokes one after another, but it's not in a bad way. They actually execute these jokes so well, but you have to try to keep up with it, because it's so fast paced. You're laughing at one joke and you're trying to get onto the next joke. It's seriously, it's a lot to process. It's overwhelming, but in a good way. As far, yeah, like, I have no cons with this movie. I didn't think there was anything. Maybe there's one thing. When it gets to the very end, you can tell that it's getting to the end by, like, if it's the music or by whatever it is. For me, it was the music that I could tell it was getting to the very end. I didn't want it to end, because especially the cliffhanger it drops you off on. I'm like, please show me some more. I'm begging you. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is better than the first. I'm just, in my opinion, that's how I feel. But yet again, I'm just a big Spider-Man dick rider, so and this, you might say, oh, you know, this is relevancy bias or not. I don't care. I think this movie is generally better than the first. Like, here's the thing. With the first, I love it. It eases you into the story of the Spider-Verse. It's a nice little thing. And, you know, with the attention to detail with the animation of Miles, you know, being at 25 frames compared to the other Spider people, that's a great, nice detail. But with this, the change in the art styles in the different universes, which did a lot better than Multiverse of Madness, mind you. There's just a lot of care went into this project and a lot of heartfelt moments that this is not just the best comic book movie, it's not just the best Spider-Man movie. It is the best movie. And you know what? It's gonna win another Oscar. Us Spider-Man fans, we just keep winning because we got Spider-Verse, we got the Spider-Man 2 PS5 game, we got more Spider-Man projects coming up, Spider-Man 4 with Tom Holland and a live-action Miles Morales movie and an animated Spider-Woman movie or show. I don't know. I think either way, a lot of Spider-Man projects, and that's a good thing. It just, you know, hopefully we learned, hopefully Avi Arad learned from his mistakes of Spider-Man 3 and the Amazing Spider-Man series. Anyways, guys, so yeah, I give this movie 10 out of 10. Maybe if I go higher, 20 out of 10, I don't care. It's generally a good movie. It's the best movie this year for me, in my opinion. So anyways, guys, that'll be for my review for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Hope you guys enjoyed this video today. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment down below, and I'll catch you guys next time.